my battles. But I haven't had much soda at all. And then about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I had a Diet Pepsi. I like the Pepsi or Coke Zeros because they're the sweetest.
Yeah.
I had some of it and I literally spit it out and didn't drink anymore because it was just way too sweet for me, right?
Yeah.
So um, I'm not going to say I'm over my soda desires, but I'm not feeding them anymore and I haven't for a couple of weeks. It hasn't been like a craving. So I'm very careful to do some Jedi mind tricks to not tell myself to to not do something. Instead, I'm saying I'm choosing right now to not participate. That way, I don't get my head all. But I want it. I gotta have it. Oh no! I don't want that. I don't want that happening. So I tell myself, if I want it, I'll have it.
Right.
I don't want it.
Yeah. And, for me, I think I was just so metabolically sick. This is why it resonated with me. When I was doing those diet sodas, man, I was on the most restrictive diet for like 24 months and I only lost like 44 pounds over 24 months total. I could not get it to happen. But life just changed. I've been averaging between 22 and 33 pounds a month now since I got off all the soda, the diet soda that I was on. It made the difference because when you're like us and you're metabolically sick and you're super insulin resistant, it slows your body's ability so badly to burn fat as fuel that it's like just always an uphill battle, right? You're just not efficient at burning stored body fat. You can't even get to it. And so, because that insulin is just such a massive blocker to burning fat, it wants to burn carbohydrates as fuel so bad it doesn't go to your stored fat cells. So, I mean, for years of doing these stupid calorie restrictive diets and doing diet soda, I could never get it to work. Finally, I mean, just in 9 months, I went from at least 715 pounds down to 468 that I'm at right now. I mean, that stuff just melted off, and it was
I
getting
think
off that.
I think there must be some what is it synergistic effect of the items in soda. So I'm not going to just say the sugar or the sweetener, right? But I
Yeah.
mean the whole gamut of what's in soda. There has got to be some type of interaction that is providing a a false signal to one of our um, metabolic pathways that's blocking or somehow or another saying don't burn the stored fat. I don't know what it is. It just seems to me if the one thing we change is soda, regardless of even the sweetener, right?
Yeah.
That somehow or another there's something in there that is telling the leptin or the ghrelin or the boobly boobly booblin, I don't know what it is, but
Mm.
something that creates that because when that is removed, yet like even for myself, I still use the sweetener and in my coffee, but I'm still having great results, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something in the effect of carbonation and of the sweetener and a dysregulation we have with our metabolic syndrome that we have that is exacerbating something, blocking something. Maybe there's a feedback loop that we don't know about because the body has all sorts of feedback loops,
Yeah.
and somehow because there are just too many common threads to I stopped soda and I started seeing real results.
Totally. Totally. And it happened so much. And I mean, to all my family, my whole family was soda addicts. And I just was thinking about it too. My sister did this and she finally got off the soda too. So there's something in soda. I don't know what it does metabolically. I really think part of what it does, I don't think your mitochondria can heal as well, and I think it has to do with how soda and those really bad sweeteners screw up your stomach microbiome that you can't process enough nutrients, and then if you can't process the nutrients, I think I used to think that everything that the catalyst to everything was insulin resistance. And now I'm starting, there's a lot of papers coming out that the catalyst to insulin resistance is actually a precursor of mitochondrial breakdown. So
And what do I say helps mitochondria function?
that,
C18,
I don't know what that is.
long chain fatty acid, stearic acid. So stearic acid, if you go and get to your Googler and type up stearic acid, STEARIC acid, C18, and mitochondrial function, there's a tremendous amount of work being done now. You'll find stearic acid in beef, butter, lard, right?
Right.
And of all things, cocoa butter. The
Hmm.
highest concentration of it is in cocoa butter. And there are no oxalates in cocoa butter. The
So
oxalates are
like
in the chocolate.
when you say cocoa butter, okay, so it is chocolate, right? Cocoa butter is chocolate. No?
Cocoa butter is the fat of the cocoa plant.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when you split them out, if you bifurcate it, and you take the powdered chocolate and no fat, it's what they make white chocolate with when they add sugar and everything to it.
Yeah.
I shave it and I put it in my coffee. It smells heavenly. It tastes beautiful, and it's pure fat.
Well, that's why I'm asking that question. So my brother has some serious metabolic diseases, and I believe he's got a pretty sick mitochondria. And it's crazy because the one thing that he craves, it has nothing to do with sugar. He'll eat it raw, but he craves chocolate, and he says chocolate makes him feel so much better.
So I'll show you a picture. I'll try to get a link for it here in a minute. I'll try to go find it on my Amazon. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, I know I can find it on my Amazon. But here's the dealio: is I buy it off of Amazon. It's organic. It's 100% cocoa butter. And what the studies show is that within 3 hours of eating, there's actually a direct sensing capability in the cells for stearic acid. And you're in about 3 hours after ingestion, your mitochondrial function just goes off the chart better.
I
I
gotcha.
think it's one of the reasons why the people like chocolate. It's not
Yeah.
the sugar hits first, but that you came for the sugar, but you stayed for the stearic
Right.
acid. And when we eat a lot of butter and we eat a lot of beef, we're getting more and more of this. So it isn't the global high end beef and butter, but what are the subcomponents of those things that are causing the mitochondrial function? It's the stearic acid. It's so prevalent now that they're actually starting to write about it and use it as a macronutrient treatment for Parkinson's disease and
Hmm.
many neurological dysfunctions. This stuff is the real deal,
Yeah. Well, I believe that because my
medically,
brother.
medically done.
Yeah. When I started researching carnivore and what was wrong with me, I really, really, truly believe that it's insulin resistance, right?
Right,
Because I was so big since the time I was born, right? And I had this huge weight problem. And my brothers, the older, so I'm the last of six kids. My oldest brothers were skinny, right? And then the more kids mom had, the bigger they got, right? And so when I was researching that, right now there's an epidemic of obese 6-month-old babies. And what they found was that insulin is, they suspected that maybe the mother was spiking her own insulin and passing it on to the infant, but they found that insulin does not go through the umbilical cord to the baby. But what they did find was that glucose does. And so they found that in these infant fetuses in the womb, we're getting hit with a massive spike of glucose from the mother. And then the infant's pancreas was putting out a massive dose of insulin, and those babies were becoming insulin resistant in the womb. So by the time they were born, they would already be struggling with insulin resistance. And that's what struck a nerve with me because I was like, that makes sense, right? Because
right.
if you followed my mother and how she ate,
Soda.
yeah, soda, soda. Yep, exactly. She wasn't on soda when she was having my oldest brothers, but as she started getting on soda, these things happened. And so I was all on the insulin resistant bandwagon, and then I was reading a bunch of studies, and they're saying that actually they thought insulin resistance was one of the main things that was breaking down the mitochondria, but now they're finding that mitochondrial breakdown is one of the biggest things that's causing insulin resistance, actually.
So you see, I threw up that article there.
Yep.
At PubMed, dietary stearic acid regulates mitochondria in vivo. That means in your body, in
Right.
humans, right?
Yep.
There's a great one to read. It has great information and more about regulation of mitochondrial morphology, all these things. But I love this, how they
Can
do
you
it.
can you grab that link and throw it in the chat so I can copy it?
Consider it done, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
So that what was that? There's actual like cocoa butter that's not like lotion or toxic or whatever.
Yeah, let me go find it for you real quick. Let me see if I can type, okay?
That's one thing. I like the caffeine part of the coffee, but I hate the bitter taste of the coffee.
Right?
You know,
I
You know-
can't get past it. I just can't.
you know what's crazy
If I could find
is
something to mask that bitterness, I would definitely. I know it's exchanging one evil for another, but I would gladly give up the pop for the coffee. I know the
Very
coffee
good.
is better than the soda.
try that lemon juice, and then also if the lemon's a little too bitter, they also make the same volcanic lime juice though. And then you can add 4 ounces of lime juice, and it'll take the acidity and bitterness, tartness out of the lemon juice. And I actually like that better. And I know that you're going to be drinking a bunch of carbohydrates, even on the carnivore diet. But for whatever reason, if you follow what these guys are doing with the continuous glucose monitors, when they test individual foods, there are certain things that have a lot of carbohydrates in them but don't have a giant insulin response because, like, let's say blueberries, because they have so much antioxidants in them, for whatever reason it slows the absorption of carbohydrates or into the bloodstream, and so they don't turn to glucose so quick. So
Fiber does that too.
what's that does?
Fiber will slow down the.
Yeah.
So when you look up the
That's what I was asking
glycemic,
about the fiber for, because like long story short, when I first found this ketogenic lifestyle, I was doing keto, kind of loosely, not even clean keto, really dirty keto, off and on for probably about 6-7 months, and I went from 430 to 376, and I was drinking this diet soda like
Yeah.
water, like normal. And I lost weight. And now that maybe I'm focusing on it too much, but now that I'm carnivore and I've been strictly carnivore, it just doesn't seem like nothing's happening sometimes. But I don't know. I could be.
Well, how much are you eating too? Well, what are you eating?
It's at times it seems like I'm not eating enough, and other times it seems like I'm overeating. Like, say, for instance, in the morning, I'll have a 5-egg omelet with 4 sausage patties. They're clean, of course, and a couple of pieces of clean cheese, and just maybe a tablespoon or 2 of cream cheese, just to give it flavor. And that's it for that. So most of the time, I'm not hungry after that, and I can make it till dinner, which is like ground beef, hamburger patties, or a steak, or something to the effect of that. But if I do get hungry in between, it's usually like a couple of bratwurst or like bacon or something like that in between the meals.
I got to tell you, I really had to get rid of all the dairy for me, and I don't know if that's for everybody.
I
but
tried it last month. I tried it all month to get rid of the dairy, and no change whatsoever. I didn't feel any different. I didn't lose anymore.
I don't know that I have any of the exact answers for you, but I'll just tell you what I did before things clicked, right? So when I did keto, had mixed results, and I did lose 50 pounds here, and then was on dirty keto. Basically I got into the processed keto bullcrap foods like the fat bombs and keto protein bars and all this crap. And so I failed keto twice because I was still hopelessly addicted to carbs, and so it was still it was still a willpower thing, right? I had to force myself to stay on that diet, and that never works for me when I have to do a willpower, and I was being hungry, right? Because I wasn't getting satiated. So um when I started, I decided that I was doing too dirty keto, and so I started real strict keto. This was September 28th of 2022. and I bought one of those blood meters that tests your ketones from your blood. And that blood meter wanted me to be somewhere. I don't know what it was measuring exactly, but it wanted me to be between 1.0 and 5.0. And when I was doing, and I don't know what this meter was, but that was the range that it wanted you to be in. It was a special little ketone monitor, and it was however it was reading it, it wanted you to be in this range. The reason why I emphasize that was because when I say those numbers, it means nothing to nobody else. They're like, that's not a normal ketone reading. But anyhow, when I was on ketovore, I call it because it was carnivore plus cruciferous vegetables, um, olives, and olive oil and avocado oil. That's what it was. I was making taco salads and I was using seasonings, right? And I was using cheese and sour cream. I was making taco salads and I did this for a month and I was kept testing my ketones and it was at 0.08, right? I was just under 1 full point, which was the very bottom end of being in ketosis according to this meter. So I just started eliminating things. And the first thing I suspected was the cheese because everybody said that that was a stalling food. And so I started taking out the cheese and the sour cream. And at first, I was such an addict. That was the only thing left that was good in my diet at the time. So I cut them in half and then I cut them in half again. And then I eliminated them. And when I eliminated them, I needed a texture change. So I added boiled eggs to that salad and I was chopping those up and I was eating boiled eggs. I got to 1.2 on that meter and was just tiny bit into ketosis. And then I had to take out the olives and then I had to take out the taco seasoning to the meat. And pretty soon I was down to eggs, meat, and lettuce. And I was like, I don't particularly like lettuce. So I chucked the lettuce. Right then is when I started that lemon drink with the bubbly. I did that for 5 weeks. And by this time, through all this elimination, I was coming up on January 1st. The last thing that I was eating that wasn't full carnivore was black pepper. I tossed the black pepper. I got off the lemon juice because I finally didn't need it anymore. I wasn't craving soda. I went straight to water. And it was at that point that I went into the fours in ketones, and the rating is at the top of the chart now. And I started burning weight like crazy. So
So let me jump in on that, okay? And that's a great. I think what you said was spot on and very informative. I think a critical aspect of what you said, because it was your life, it probably maybe you can gloss over it, you can go by it quickly, and that is you went through a process of elimination. Sometimes we get so, and Chuck, I think you probably would agree with this, we get so anxious to get a result, so we go into it really hard. And I think we maybe lose the opportunity to say, how many variables are we tossing out? And so what really was the thing that made the biggest impact? And maybe, what getting rid of 1 and 2 and 3 gave you some, but when you got rid of 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's not a linear progression. It was an exponential one, because pepper is a pepperine, and a pepperine can cause leaky gut. So that's what they say. So the idea being is when you go to, having an understanding of why you're doing something, so you can figure out maybe what you're expecting, right? In that healing. I think the carbonation. I mean, I used to drink a lot of carbonated drink. I get really bloated, right? So that can't be good for the overall. Also, I am not a big proponent, and I studied and I read, and if you can tell, I like to do that. This whole idea of, am I acidic or am I alkaline? Your body knows how to maintain it very tightly. But when you eat things that cause an inordinate shift, or your body to have to compensate for that, right? I think that turns epigenetically, it turns down some of what your body would otherwise normally do. So by eliminating the pepper, lemon is very acidic. If you eat something acidic, your body has to neutralize it, so it creates an alkaline condition in your stomach. Under a continuous alkaline acidic seesaw battle, then the rest of you, remember, all that stuff goes from your stomach where? into the duodenum, from the duodenum into the small intestines, and it changes things and washes it through. You know how when you drop food coloring into water, that's what's happening from your biliary salts coming out of your gallbladder, right? And so,
Totally.
and then people taking antacids for years. Have you ever had to do that, Chuck?
A little bit.
Okay.
Since I've been doing the not even just carnivore, but even keto, I haven't had a problem with acid reflux at all. Not
good.
even
And that's actually because people will weaken their bile salts, right? Because your bile goes in, gets mixed up, all the emulsification, all the enzymatic things happen. It turns into what they call chyme in your small intestines. The chyme runs through, does its thing, then it goes boom into the ascending colon, then it goes across the transversal colon, descending colon, and out, right? Well, all that time in the colon, different things are getting absorbed at different places. And in the last area of the colon, you're getting all your biliary salts back, right? But if you've weakened them, it's like adding too much water to your battery. Well, then you start having problems with your digestion. A lot of time people get acid reflux because they've made the acid so weak. The valve that shuts your esophagus off from your stomach is actuated by a chemical trigger from the acidity in your stomach. When you wash the acidity down too much, what happens is it allows the acid to go up into the stomach, up into the esophagus, and it won't shut because it's not strong enough, right?
Right.
And so then you end up with that Barrett's esophagus, where the stomach lining is actually growing up into the esophagus because you took too much antacid instead of saying to stop eating what aggravates you for a while and let your body heal. My sister is dealing with that now, right? So it's just this idea that there's a lot of things, and if you take the time to eliminate one thing at a time, Chuck, do like Todd said, go from full to half to half to half to eventually you're done, and then you know what happens? You just forget about it. You just forget about it, and you go, "Oh, I made a day without it. I don't need it now." But that headache thing, that caffeine. Now, someone help me out. We got a great group of people in the comment section too, and I'm sorry I bloviate here, but how long is a caffeine hangover going to last? I think 3 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say for me. It only lasted about 3 to 5 days, I would say.
Okay. So I really do think that if you were to do the halving and wean yourself, Chuck, along with all the other stuff we've been chitty chatting about, it would be real interesting to hear. Hopefully, you'll check back in next week. Maybe you can start incorporating a little bit of this sooner rather than later. And it'd be really good because you would be a tremendous case study for the hundreds and hundreds of people who are going to come into this community because of things going on with the carnivore movie, with the growth of this. You are not the first nor the last person who's going to say this whole thing with the soda battle. And it would be awesome to champion you in this process as you chronicle it.
Yeah, and I got to throw this on there. I joined the Steak and Butter Gang about a month and a half or 2 months ago. And since I've been in there, I don't know if you know what that is, but that's Bella, the Steak and Butter gal, and she's got a group where people join up, and it's a small fee every month. But everybody joins up, and they have a bunch of coaches, and everybody joins these Zoom calls several times a week. But you would be surprised how one of the biggest common denominators of all the people, and they get hundreds of people in those Zoom calls, is soda addiction. And I can tell you for a fact, I've had a terrible gambling problem when I was young and was hooked terribly to gambling. And they say that that's like one of, like in the top 3 addictions on the planet as far as severity goes. And I had, I smoked and was addicted to cigarettes and stuff. And those two were way easier to quit than soda. I can tell you that. As a matter of fact, in my life, the soda was way worse. So, whatever happened there with that magic, uh, combination of eliminating and getting down to BBB and E, and then using that lemon juice. And I really think I think a lot of it was by having that lemon juice, I still got to uh, go through the process of the habit, right? I still got to get up and have a drink that was very similar at the times that I would. And I just replaced it, and that eased it down. And it was similar enough to soda, and it was something I like to drink. You know, people say, well, just use sparkling water. Well, I hated it. I hated there was no uh there was no satisfaction there, so it just didn't
You
work.
got to find though what works for your palate, and so that may not work for your palate, but find one. There's something out there that will get you there.
Yeah, and so I think if you do that, and then one people, I don't know, I think it's Ken Berry or maybe it was Dr. Berg, but they said one thing you can do is take sparkling water, right, and take your soda, whichever one you're drinking, and at first just dump
Got
like
it.
2 ounces out,
Yeah,
and
that
then
was
fill
Dr.
it with,
Berry.
yeah, and then just slowly wean off of it. I didn't do that. I did the lemon thing, but that sounds like it might be another thing. But I really think the thing was having the process of the habit, still indulging in that process was kind of calming,
The
and it
crap.
allowed me to do it. Yeah. And then these electrolytes, I totally underestimated electrolytes. These are the things that really curbed all my carb cravings. It was a miracle for me. When I started getting the right electrolytes and I was, fully had all total balanced electrolytes, it was a game changer for me. And now these things I can feel within, if I don't take these for a day, day and a half, I know it immediately. I know the feeling now, and I get energy out of these things when I take them now, and it just makes everything better. If I don't take these, I start getting cravings.
Well, think about it, Todd. Just use your engineering background. How good is an electrolytic system without electrolytes?
Yeah, without conductors. Right,
Right.
exactly.
And
Right.
so,
We can have the nerves, which are the conduits, but we don't have the conductors. There's no conductive property, so that you basically have resistance in the circuit, and so you are basically running down the electrical signal because it has so much impedance and resistance. It's just not going to happen.
so I think this is great. So, hey, Chuck, you want to get a word in edgewise? Otherwise, Todd and I will roll.
Sorry.
I was just thinking here, because like I have kind of a theory, and I've tossed this back and forth with my wife, and she kind of agrees with me. But I have a theory that it necessarily wasn't necessarily the keto versus the carnivore. You know why I lost all that weight before? Because like when I was doing the keto, even like dirty keto, I really wasn't like focusing on it as much, or like obsessing over it. I think I'm kind of obsessing over the carnivore thing, but I wasn't like every day. It wasn't like I wasn't thinking about it all day long, and I wasn't watching the scale. And it was like I was just kind of casually. We're just doing meals, not even 100% of the time. Just like I'd say 4 days out of 5 days we do keto, and we're not even fully like stable. And then one day I happened to go into her work with her because she works at a nursing home as a chef. And she was like, "Hey, let's jump on the scale here and let's see if you lost anything." And they had a wheelchair scale, and I'm like, "All right, for kicks and giggles, why not?" So I jumped on there, and she was like, "Whoa, you're down to 376." And like I said, I was 3-4 or 430 before that. And I was like, "Oh, what?" And I didn't even feel like I was losing weight, and I didn't even like think that I was losing weight. I was like shocked. I was flabbergasted, and like I was like excited and like, holy crap. And I'm thinking like, okay, it's only been 75 days on carnivore, and I've went 76 days on carnivore before, but I messed up, fell off, gained, and went back and forth a whole bunch of times. But like this time, it's like I know I'm not going to fall back or cheat anymore and do this. Like maybe I'm just focusing too hard on it, and I'm not giving my body enough time to respond to it.
Can I ask you something right there? Why do you say you're not going to fall off this time?
This time, like, well, I got all new teeth. I had 10 teeth on the bottom pulled. while I was having that the teeth pulled, I was like, think it was July 19th that I had my teeth pulled. For I think 3 days after I had my teeth pulled, I went back to the standard American diet so I can eat soft stuff to get through the healing period. And I got so constipated during that period of time, and I felt so sick. I had to go into the ER to get help pushing everything through. And after that, I know for a fact that I would rather starve or fast or whatever you want to call it. I would rather eat nothing than go back to eating that way of eating. I just a switch flipped in my brain. I know I'm just like, that's it. That was the last straw. I'm done. I will never go back to it. There's nothing is worth feeling that horrible.
That's
Like
good.
it was. I mean, it was so bad. I've having diverticulitis and having 20 millimeters on my intestine removed from being constipated and everything in my past several times. This last time was the worst time I've ever been constipated in my life. And that was just like, no, I'm done. I know I will never go back. So that's like I've said in chat a few times, even if I never lose weight off this again, I will never go back to the standard American diet ever.
There you go. And I think if you do incorporate the things that Todd was talking about and other people have done, and keep a really good. Now I use my phone for everything because everybody carries it. It's ubiquitous, and it has some great. You can use your calendar. You can use your notes. I like to use Google Calendar. That way, every time I get a new phone, everything goes over. But I really think that if you were to chronicle, and also what most people don't do with a food journal, and I think they should, try to capture your emotional state at each meal, each thing. So again, I don't want to be TMI or gross anybody out, but part of our whole life is not only what we eat, but what we eliminate, right? And how we eliminate. I came up with a numerical, no, actually there is already a numerical system for qualifying and categorizing each of your movements, right? There's something very simple that you can keep track of, right?
The one I use, you can't see it. It's the days counter.
Okay.
It tracks your days and tells you the start date of when you started and everything. So
Right.
technically, this last run since that the straw that broke the constipated camel's back was July 29th of this year. So there's no turning back after this.
Mine was July 20th. So, but come up with a way to also to capture your mental state, because I'm an emotional eater.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That was actually a huge one for me. As this is going to sound crazy, but I had to start writing myself notes
Right.
about how I was feeling on good days, because the depression and anxiety were so bad that when I was having bad days, I couldn't even remember feeling good anymore. And so it was like I was a different person. The anxiety was so bad. I couldn't, like on the good days, I'd be like, I'm never going back. This is the greatest thing ever. It feels so good. Then I would have this cortisol attack or something. And it was so bad and so realistic. It was like some sort of almost being like in another state of mind, or it was like sorcery or something.
Bad trip.
Real bad, and it was very real. And I'd sit there and I go, I know that I said that I felt good, but I now everything seems hopeless today. It seems like it's not worth it. It seems like it's just not going to work, and this is not sustainable. It's not going to happen. I'd have to read my notes I wrote to myself, and I would write down when I was having a really good day and I was feeling good and the depression was gone, the anxiety was gone. I had to write down and go, I know what you're thinking right now, but the depression is gone. You're completely happy today. You are not full of anxiety. You're not worried about anything. This is definitely doable. And what you're going through right now it'll pass. This is just a temporary thing. It's just hormones right now. I had to do that for like 4 weeks before I got through that, before it was all gone and lifted, and I stopped having those little episodes. And I still don't know what they were, but it was like I was two different people in those two different states. It was crazy.
Well, you can think about it. I mean, I hope the ladies won't find me offensive. But women have a hormonal demand on their bodies throughout their life that we will never understand. And our society is replete with little colloquial sayings and all these other about how hormones can drive a lot of things, positive and negative, right? It is it is not too much of a stretch of the imagination to say when we are reprogramming our dietary behaviors, it's like building a plane while you're flying it, right?
Right.
And so here you are trying to navigate and negotiate things that you didn't do well before when you weren't flying. And now you're flying at the seat of your pants into hairpin turns, like that dream you have when you're trying to avoid the power lines and all that stuff. You can never quite get free of the power line, so you could go up wide open flying or something like that. It's this idea we're doing all this stuff. So why wouldn't we feel frustrated when we have an imbalance? Because look at what they do to treat emotional and psychological problems. They give you medications, right,
Yeah.
that mess with your gut with your gut biome. And I've had to take antidepressants and stuff like for my PTSD, and they made me feel really sick, right? And a lot of those medications work on moderating what goes on in your gut, because what your gut gives off is what drives a lot of things in your head. Most people don't know. Are you familiar with the enteric nervous system?
I'm not.
Well, get your Googler out. The enteric nervous system is in your gut. Did you have as many cells, brain type cells
I
in
know
your
that.
gut as a cat has in its brain?
Right. And I thought that was the autonomic nervous system that did that.
Well, the enteric, autonomic, and sympathetic mean different things. Okay, some things are on autonomic, some are sympathetic, but this is a complete different, like a brain in your gut. Have you ever thought people who are quadriplegics have no problem with their digestive tract?
Yeah, right.
Right? It's because
can breathe.
it's this redundant system.
Right.
Okay? So anyway, the point is that's how they treat a lot of mental illnesses. I wish another one of the people who comes in here, Lucia, was here because she knows a lot about that. But so if it's feasible for them to pump chemicals into your body to help your mind by moderating what goes on in your gut, right? Or that it also impacts your gut. Then when we moderate our gut through our dietary habits, we too are moderating the genetic responses to the chemicals in our digestive system. So when people talk about brain fog going away, it very well could be because we've mitigated a cascade of events because our gut biome is changing,
Right.
not just the ketones from a ketogenic diet that we inevitably become. Matter of fact, Dr. Stephen Finney, who's really been a big proponent, he's a PhD doctor, not just a medical doctor, but a PhD medical doctor.
Yeah.
He actually redefined when you're in ketosis. He used to believe you weren't in ketosis unless you had a 0.5 measurement. But
Really?
now they've redefined it that if you have any measurement of ketones, you're in a ketogenic state. So,
really?
yeah, so you're not necessarily in a high ketone state.
Right.
I can drive myself, because I've been pretty much low carb for well over 3 years. I can drive my ketones through the roof by just putting some MCT oil in my coffee.
Right. Right.
Just a tablespoon. And then that kickstarts the system, right? My body, we're doing this now. So I'm flex fuel system.
Yeah.
And you could do that. And if you want to, you could use coconut oil. So I'm telling you that, Chuck, right? You could actually even just go buy coconut oil if you don't want to buy the expensive MCT. But yeah, you can really kick off if you would talk, because you wanted to raise your ketones earlier, Chuck. That's what I was thinking about.
Well, my whole thought process behind that was I don't think I've been in a ketosis state as far as I know. Every time I checked, I haven't been, and my blood sugar is always kind of high up there.
Blood sugar does not mean you're not in ketosis.
because like my thought is, okay, if I can get into ketosis, I can, start to
Do you
burn fat, which will allow me to lose some more weight and everything and feel better,
you
move the whole process along. But then again, I could just be like
do you ever
rushing things when I
do you ever
don't.
wake up with really bad breath and a film on the roof of your mouth?
Nah, not really. I don't know.
Okay,
I'd
that's
have
called
to ask my wife about that one.
well, you'll know it if it happens to you. That's called keto breath when you're burning when you're in really deep into ketosis. All like 97% of the mass that leaves your body of weight comes out of your mouth. You breathe it out in gas, and it'll leave a terrible film on the roof of your mouth that's gross, and it gives
The
you
only thing I notice in the morning is the smell of the urine. It smells like eggs or something funny, like really, really, really strong. Like
And it smells like nail polish remover because ketones are part of the benzene family. So,
Yep.
That's what, if you got a wife, she got nail polish remover, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably.
Yeah, get a little nail polish remover on a Q-tip, just a little bit. Wave it about 2 or 3 feet from your nose, right? Just get a gentle aromatic of it. In the morning when you relieve and void, right? If you can have that smell, you'll know you're burning ketones. That's an absolute thing. And actually, what's happening is when you start burning ketones, now this is probably not Dr. Barry or Dr. Boz or anybody, but this is Scotty, okay? When you start to get into ketosis, your body's going, whoa, 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 what's up with this? I got this new energy. I'm liking this new energy. After a little bit of time, your body adapts to burning it, and you'll actually secrete less of it because your body's burning more of it. But when you first,
That smell is in your pee too, then?
oh yeah,
That makes so much sense. I didn't know that because I'm like every morning when I pee, I'm like, why does that smell like my breath?
well, hold on. Okay, that's a little TMI, but
Well, that same funky nail polish smell that's in my breath. It's when I pee, it does the same thing. I'm like, what is that?
okay. So see, the whole idea is that's why they have those ketone strips, right?
Right.
All you have to do is go to Walmart. You can buy them cheap. Bottle of 50 for $1.280, right? You go, yep, it's purple. I'm in ketosis. Oh, it's purple.
Well, when you're 700 pounds, that's not so easy. I pee on my thumb more than I pee on the stick.
I feel you there.
Okay. But that's
Hey,
why I train my
it
nose.
is what it is.
That's why you train your nose, right?
Right.
But that's what happens. And so, but the thing is, I remember when I was like devout. I'm down for the struggle, brother, on the getting into ketosis, right? And all of a sudden I started noticing my ketones weren't as prolific. Instead of looking like the purple on the screen, I'm looking more like the not purple on the screen, right? And then I realized my body's using them. There's less. Remember, your urea cycle, all that stuff. If your body's utilizing it,
Right.
there's not as much going out.
Yeah,
So,
well, I can even speak onto that because did I tell you I'm doing the priming protocol from the steak and butter game? Yeah, so this is my fourth day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, third day doing that. But that was one thing I was seeing too, and that was something that came up was my ketone levels were going down, but it was because I'm finally so active, I'm actually using more of it.
right. So the whole thing is we have to be, well, we would be well served to try to gather knowledge, to listen to some other people, to go out there and listen to some of the brilliant, brilliant minds out there. Truly, the Bart Kays, the Dr. Stephen Finney, Dom DiAgostino, if you can get to those. Some of the things from the keto down under, the keto Breckenridge, stuff like that. There are a number of things, but the whole idea about it is we want to be metabolically flexible. So I think you've mentioned it, Todd, and Chuck. You heard it in the previous live that we were in. Changing things up sometimes. Remember, our body wants to be balanced, and when we're balanced, the body's like, "I'm happy. I'm happy being fat and balanced. I'm happy being sick and balanced. I just need to be balanced. So we introduce stressors in our lives, and our body's okay. I'm going to adapt. I want to do it, but that's not what it wants to do. And so the more we do to keep our body wondering what the Sam Hill we're doing, right? The more your body said, look, I got to get rid of all this extra stuff. I can't deal with this. So shed the weight, burn the weight, do all these things. I don't want you to hold. Because remember, cortisol, fight or flight. Most of us are not fighters. I don't care what most people think. You're not the fighter you think you are. You're more into saving. You're more into protectionism. Your muscles to hold are stronger than your muscles to push, right? So the whole idea, we're not really fighters. We're lovers, okay? So we need to understand this when we go into it. Now, I'll give just for Laura, who came up with that great little this conversation going down the toilet. Everybody understands what diabetes type 2 diabetes mellitus is, right? Do you understand what the Greek word of that means? Sweet pea. That's how they knew way back when you had diabetes, because your pee would be sweet, because your body could not handle metabolizing it, and your body would start to secrete it, and that's what would ruin your kidneys. Right. Anyway, FYI, somebody had to know what sweet pea was. Just saying. I'm thankful for technology. Amen. Can I get an amen?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's great. Can you pull that comment up? They had a question, it looked like.
Okay, let me go. Comment. Which one?
Bypass carnivore.
Okay, hang on. There you go. Thank you.
Perfect. The protocol is the same for men and women, or does it vary? No, I think it is the same for men and women. They seem to CrossFit was the name of that workout that I was trying to say the other day. So basically they utilize kind of like how CrossFit is always confusing your body and doing a different muscle group, but to keep everything from falling into just the same pattern, So they do that with feeding basically. And so it starts out, I think, with 3 meals a day for a week. And you have to eat each meal until you're comfortably full. And then it goes to 2 meals a day for a week until you're comfortably full. And then it goes 2 meals every other day. So you fast a full day. And then it goes back to OMAD, 1 meal a day. And then it goes to OMAD every other day and you skip a day. And then after you do that for a week, it goes back to 3 meals a day and they just keep changing it up over and over. And I can tell you this, I'm finally getting used to eating this. I'm eating a massive amount of food right now, and it's been so uncomfortable. But I'm eating 36 eggs a day now. And so I eat 12 eggs and a pound of steak per meal, and I've been doing that 3 times a day, and I'm stuffed to the gills right now. I'm looking at a bowl of 12 eggs and meat, and I don't know how I'm going to get it down before tonight, but I can tell you this, that through that, my energy has gone through the roof. And my mental clarity and like mental stamina is so much better right now. So it's definitely working. I'm really looking forward to the fasting side of things though, because I need a break from this food.
You see, Todd, when I hear people on that regimen or whatever that they're doing that and they say that, and I'm thinking, okay, oh my gosh, I'm like overeating and I'm overdoing it with my 5 eggs and 4 pieces of sausage and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm way overeating, I'm overdoing it. And then I hear of people doing that and I'm thinking, well, shoot, am I overeating or am I undereating? Because I mean,
the question, honestly, the answer could be
purposely eat thousands and thousands of calories a day and lose weight like crazy.
Yeah, and it's real, and it's so counterintuitive, right? Because you're sitting here going, no way. I mean, also, what I'm also eating with each one of these meals is 2 ounces of pure butter that I eat cold. Just take spoonfuls of it, and that makes my energy go through the roof right now. But I know what you're saying. I went from eating 17 to 2,100 calories a day, and now I'm eating 5,500 calories a day of pure protein and fat, right? Seems crazy. I have more energy, and I guarantee I'm going to lose weight because I can feel my metabolism rising as right now. I'm no longer tired. I'm no longer, I was just burning out before. I was getting slowly, I was losing mental stamina. I couldn't focus as good. I was sleeping worse and I was waking up more tired. And I'm like, this isn't normal. And it was because I did OMAD for 11 solid months and I was under eating. And it finally caught up with me. So I guarantee you this works, but I know exactly what you're saying because I was sitting there before, worried about eating 3,000 calories a day. But if you want to know the craziest example of that, look at Bella, the steak and butter gal. She's a tiny girl and she was eating like 6 to 7 pounds of meat a day and eating full sticks of butter for like 7 months. And she
And
looks
do you
like,
know what her triglyceride number was?
I never did hear that. Was it crazy?
15. Dr. Oveda said he's never heard of a patient having it. That's kind of her steady thing. I eat about a stick to a stick and a half of butter every day. And my cholesterol is so good, right?
Well, did you ever? So there's that engineer that started studying cholesterol. Do you know that guy?
Yeah. The Irish guy.
Is he Irish? He might be. I think his name's like. Gosh, I wish I remember his name because I brought this up in Dr. Kiltz's live stream the other day, and he thought I was crazy. But this engineer did a incredible deep dive
I'll
into.
give his name in a minute. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it was the most incredible thing. And what he found was that if you want to spike your cholesterol numbers, just go ahead and don't eat any fat because your body makes cholesterol when you don't have animal fat. So your cholesterol numbers are going to rise when you're not eating dietary animal fat. When you eat dietary animal fat, your body has no need to build the cholesterol. And what do they do before you get a blood test? They make you fast.
Right.
So you don't have any animal fat in. So it pumps up these fake cholesterol numbers just so they could put you on cholesterol medication. So he went and he tested it with him and several people, and he would go in fasted and his cholesterol numbers would be high. He would eat bacon and beef before he went in and then get it tested, and his cholesterol numbers were low the next day. You know what I mean?
Makes you wonder if they should have a different test just for cholesterol and not count that in to the fast test.
Well, if they did that, then they wouldn't get to sell so many drugs, now would they? So I don't think, I don't think it's an accident. I think they know full well what they're doing. They want to sell them damn pills.
Yeah, and I'm looking it up because I've watched a lot of his thing. He's really big in the low carb, and he worked with a guy from Scotland or Ireland who's a billionaire.
Yeah, he's amazing too.
And they put this whole movie together, which is kind of sort of like what Carrie's trying to do at Homestead How.
Yep.
And this guy, he interviews all these people. He's an engineer.
Yeah, which is, and everybody discount him because he's an engineer, but he's done more studies and research that, really diving into all the nuances of it that, I think he's going to have probably the most accurate body of work on cholesterol here in another couple of years,
Well, yeah, he is absolutely amazing. And I got him almost. Ivor Cummings.
Yes, that is him. Thank God. I've been trying to think his name for 2 days.
Right. Yeah. Ivor Cummings. And so he's a process engineer and he knows how to go through and find. So he's a really smart, and he's not blinded by medicine. And he got in with the billionaire Ivor did. And anyway, the point is, I agree with what you said there, Todd, about your body's going to make. 70% of your brain is cholesterol. You store it. Did you know that butter and your body's cholesterol and butter are very, very close in almost every aspect? So if you hold a stick of butter, and you had a stick of fat, adipose, subcutaneous fat, it'd be about the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So he has all that good information. I have watched hours of that man talk.
Yeah. I remember this was when I was on keto. I watched him like 2 years ago, but it was a fantastic study, and it just made so much sense to me because I think him or somebody during that conversation, he said blaming cholesterol for plugged arteries and heart disease is like blaming
cops for accidents, or firemen for fires.
because they're on the scene. They have, so that's just association. They are not the cause. They are the response team to try to heal those arteries.
And what causes the arteries to be injured?
Well, I think it's inflammation.
But okay, let's get a little more specific, Mr. Engineer. It's the very low density or the very high density lipoproteins that are present in the standard American diet. So if you get a gash in the drywall in your house, how do you repair the drywall?
Right? You're going to go mud it up and patch it with mud.
What is spackling made of?
Right. Well, it's made of whatever. It's made of drywall and or whatever you call that stuff.
The mineral calcium.
Yeah.
And the flow agent, the suffocant, the flow agent is cholesterol. Your body takes calcium, mixes it with cholesterol, and patches the tear, the microscopic tears, right? The inflammation, right? So when they do a CAC test, a coronary artery calcium scoring test, right? They're measuring the same stuff that your bones are made out of. Hard calcium. Now, it doesn't do the soft plaque. I've heard it all before. But all the fat I eat, all my CAC is zero.
Right. Yep, I agree. And I eat a ton of fat and butter. And the last time I had a blood test, Dr. Jason Fung. So I'm lucky enough that I have a doctor in my town that studied under him. And I went to see him when I was like 650 pounds and told him what I was doing, and he was ecstatic. He's the one that put me on testosterone replacement therapy, though. But he had me get an extensive blood test, and he goes, "You are like the poster child for a low carb diet." He goes, "You are huge, but your numbers are perfect on this diet." He said, "Your cholesterol numbers, everything was just perfect."
I think that Dr. Fung has probably done as much for this space than Dr. Chafee and Dr. Berry, but Dr. Fung was in very early, and he approached it from a completely different vector, Victor, and so he could have a different in the hallway of heroes. He should have his bust put in there he's the one who made me realize stop putting junk in your pie hole.
Right. Yeah, and he was the one that made me realize that I wasn't losing weight because I was insulin resistant, and also why I would always hit a plateau was my fasted insulin set point was so high, and that I had to implement fasting. And fasting was another thing. That's why I went OMAD, was because of Dr. Jason Fung. That's exactly why I went OMAD, and it, I don't know what one made the most different, but whatever that combination of carnivore, OMAD, and electrolytes, which was Dr. Berg. I know a lot of people in the carnivore community don't like Dr. Berg, but I think he's really good, and, Ken Berry and Jason Fung. Those were the three that basically crafted what I ended up doing, and it worked. So I can't.
The first two people that I've heard of, because I know it's not hard to believe for us in the community, but I had never heard any one of my doctors ever say anything about insulin resistance. Not once.
Nope.
If they would have explained it to me how some of these YouTubers explain it, I would have been like, "Oh, well, wow, okay, let's get going, let's get this started," and I would have made the change right then and there. But
exactly,
it wasn't until I heard a health coach YouTuber named by the name Health Coach Kate talk about it in one of her videos, and then that led me to Dr. Ben Bickman giving a speech on it, and I was like, wow, okay. And then that led me to Keto Connect, and then it just kept unraveling. Jason Fung, Dr. Berry, all these other people, it just like all this wealth of knowledge just exploded, and I've never heard any doctor in my life talk about any of this.
No,
Dr. Bickman is a treasure beyond measure, because he'll tell you, I'm not a medical doctor, but there's not too many people I can count on. Well, that hand, because I don't have all of that one. I can count on this hand the number of people who might know much about lipids as he does.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
we are definitely. And oh, by the way, we have a great little family reunion going on in comics. Wir sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch now. We got a lot of people get going with Yami and then with everybody. So that's great. But yeah, I tell you though, Todd, you are again a textbook case here too. We do need to remember, just because we found something that works for us today doesn't mean that should be the only thing we do every day. We've got to keep the body kind of guessing, because
Absolutely.
really, in all honesty, our bodies operate best in that situation.
Yeah, you have to have stressors. You have to have stressors that are outside of your environment or your environmental norm. And that's why I can't wait till I get down on, enough in size that I can fit in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. But one of the most amazing things that hyperbaric oxygen chambers do
It causes
is
the body to be under stress.
right, because when you get out of the chamber, that's when the other half of the benefit, yeah, because all those gases leave your cells, and it immediately puts your body into a stressor, and your body pumps out growth hormones and stem cells, and it's like autophagy on steroids at that point. And it's the stressor from the atmosphere leaving your cells so quickly that causes this massive stressor. So it's as important the atmosphere change when you get out as it is when you go in. It's incredible.
Well, I just think that we all are in such a wonderful time and space with all of the things that we have available, and the tools, the information. I mean, this would have been really hard to do 25 years ago, because
Impossible.
the doctors, and I want to be real careful. We don't want to get into bashing doctors here. I mean, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it, right? And
Right.
the demands placed on them are incredible. The malpractice that they face, and all. So what we need to do is to say, given that they're in the situation they're in, I think most of them are trying to do the very best they can. I also believe that there is an inherent and incumbent responsibility on the part of the patient to learn more about themselves and what they're going through. I mean, I think I always equate to my daughter. I love my daughter. Don't ever get me wrong. But she would come to me and she said, "Dad, I don't feel good. Where does it hurt? My stomach. Okay, where's that?" It could be anywhere from right about here to her kneecaps.
Right.
Right? And I said, "Okay, can we narrow it down to a limb or an area?" And we'd have to work on this stuff. And it was always, well, doctors go through the same thing. I go to the doc. What's that? Well, unless you went to Google Doc, and then you're really driving them crazy. You try to tell them things. It's like going to an auto mechanic and telling an auto mechanic, "Hey, I hear a noise in the rear end. I think my differential is having a problem." Well, you're right. Your differential is having a problem. Now, it may just be that your jack is loose, but we're going
Right.
to get you a whole new differential, right?
Right.
Let doctors do diagnostics, answer the questions honestly, and take care of yourself. I mean, doctors are so frustrated. When I worked in an Army hospital, all these people having problems with type 2 diabetes, right? But they're not giving up them pizzas and them
Right.
donuts and those fruit drinks, right? Or their
Right.
alcohol. It's like,
Can't help you.
how frustrated would you be if you went to work every day, and every day you went into work, someone taking your keyboard, rearranged all the keys on it, had hid your monitor, right?
Right.
And
Totally.
wouldn't give you your time card or your paycheck.
Right.
I'd be out of the business.
Oh, for sure. No, and I get that too, for sure. You know, they are fighting an uphill battle, and they've been kind of indoctrinated with, in my opinion, bad information, on diet specifically. We have the greatest doctors in the world when it comes to trauma. I mean, just incredible what they can do. It's just, I think that the drug companies have such a strong hold on what gets published in those medical schools that they are purposely holding back the information that they know would help people. And that's what I find most irritating.
Well,
We got another question from Bypass Carnivore.
Okay, let me get down here because I'm trying to go back into other things. People being so nice. Okay, what kind of doctor do you go to get a chance to go to a hyperbaric chamber? Is there a certain diagnostics you need? I think you just need cash.
Yeah, they're $17,500 with the concentrator. You can order one, they'll go up to 1.3 atmospheres, which is enough to cause basically that stressor. So what it does is at 1.3 atmospheres, it'll pump oxygen. Not so right now at the atmosphere that we're sitting at, your red blood cells carry oxygen, or your blood platelets carry oxygen. But when you get at 1.3 atmospheres, your blood plasma actually carries oxygen too. So you get hyperoxygenated blood and it pushes deeper into the tissue. And so you'll create new capillaries into the deep tissue and you'll start growing them. And you'll, basically bring in new oxygen pathways to tissue that really doesn't get much, especially when you're like my size, to tissue that does not get a lot of oxygen. And so you sit in there for about 90 minutes at 1.3 atmospheres. But then when you get out and all that oxygen, those gases leave your cells, you get a whole new response, which puts you into like immediate autophagy on steroids, basically.
I know the only thing I know about the hyperbaric chamber is back when my mom had cancer and she was going through her rounds of chemotherapy. They'd like once or so many times a week, they'd put her in a hyperbaric chamber because I know like when you're going through the chemotherapy, it makes it so nothing heals or your body don't heal like it normally does. So you need that extra oxygen or whatever to kind of boost your healing power.
Yep. Totally. Yeah, because one, the oxygen helps you heal, but also when you get out of it, again, you get like a 600 or 800% boost in stem cells, which help you heal, and growth hormones. So it's really good. Oxygen chambers, one of the best things they do is promote, new tissue.
So we have a question. What is hyperbaric?
So hyperbaric oxygen is basically when you get to a pressure chamber that raises the atmospheric pressure to, like I said, it's 1.3 times the atmospheric pressure that it is right now. And so it pushes the oxygen in your cells and it allows your blood plasma to hold oxygen and carry oxygen as well. So it's just a higher pressure, air pressure.
I think it was, I can't remember who the Christian guy was. I'm pretty sure it was Ken Hovick.
Okay, or Dr. Carl Baugh talks about it too.
But there was a theory that back like in the biblical times, before the dome broke, it was like a hyperbaric chamber, and that's why like maybe the dinosaurs were, and all the animals and plants and everything were so much bigger.
Yep, you're talking. That's actually Dr. Carl Baugh. Yeah, he's awesome. And you know how they figured that out? They found they found air bubbles
with that enriched oxygen in it, like it's like 300% more or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was I think it was only like a 1.7, basically 1.7 times what it is now. But what was crazy, they could even measure the pressure because they found bubbles and fossilized tree sap from like 6,000 years ago. And the theory was that during the flood, that there was an firmament around the earth, right? And that firmament was supposed to be made out of pure gold, which if you know anything about astrology astrology now, when they look at stars, they look through a pink lens and that shows you the real colors of the stars, the light frequencies. So that was supposed to be pure pink lens, gold, transparent gold, and it was holding the pressure in. And supposedly during the flood, when the geyser came up and created like the Grand Canyon, it shattered the firmament and it came crashing down, and we lost our pressure. But yeah, they mimicked like that air pressure in tanks and grew fish in them with that kind of pressure and that kind of oxygen. They grew huge.
So also, just so we understand, the chambers are used and were developed a lot because of early scuba divers ending up with the bends.
Right.
So they would go down real deep. They'd stay too long, and it's very painful getting the bends because you'd end up with the carbon monoxide and stuff like that trying to come out through the joints. It'd make gout look like a picnic, right? So they developed these hyperbaric chambers to put the divers in and bring them up slowly so the gases wouldn't boil off out of their bodies too quickly. They went from very high pressure to low pressure too quick. And so they also use hyperbaric chambers for pilots after certain missions. But here's another thing, though. If you read into Dr. Dom D'Agostino, right, who developed ketone esters. They taste horrible, right? But they use these because Dom is one of the very few Argonauts. He spent enough time underwater to be an Argonaut, not an astronaut, but an Argonaut, an underwater guy, right? Well, anyway, he developed a way for the special forces units when they go for a dive and they're going to go do what they do, like Navy SEALs and stuff like that. They put a oxygen regeneration equipment on so they can keep breathing, but then you end up getting oxygen poisoning, right? So you can only dive so deep for so long before you go over a threshold. And so they're called dive tables, and they're very well established. Turns out that when a person's in a full ketogenic state, they can dive a lot deeper and stay a lot longer. So they've actually developed the ketones. I think he's out of University of Florida mainly.
Yeah.
And he helped design in the university a very nasty tasting ketone ester that a person can take and in 2 hours be in full ketosis, from no ketosis, standard American type diet, to full ketosis, and get those. So there is some tremendous potent things going on when you start dealing with chemistry and pressures. And when you think of Bayes-Ballard's laws and all the things in chemistry, pressure, the way they make the sugar, the really bad sugar. Now I'm not going to lose it because what's in Coke?
Or are you talking about cane sugar?
Aspartame?
No, the fake sugar, the corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
High fructose corn syrup. A lot of those things are all made using lots of chemicals and pressure, a lot of heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's amazing when you start messing with this stuff. But obviously, not everybody's going to have a hyperbaric chamber available. But it would be nice. Someone said, would it be nice if we could get one once a month, right?
Yep.
It would be really nice. Just have that like a workout room that you can go in and work out in the hyperbaric chamber.
That's my plan. It's going to take for a while. Well, here's another thing that's really handy that I'm going to do when I start exercising. It's called EWOT, exercise with oxygen therapy. And what they do is they take a bladder. It's a 900-liter bladder, and you use an oxygen concentrator, and it fills the bladder with 900 liters of 99.7% oxygen. And it fills this bladder up, and then it comes with like a 1-inch hose on a face mask, and it's got an inlet and an outlet. So you put this face mask on, and then you run on the treadmill for 10 minutes, and you breathe in 900 liters of pure oxygen, and then it's got a gate valve, so your exhale air goes out and just the oxygen comes in. And that's like a cheaper way to hyperoxygenate your cells, and it is curing ridiculous diseases with just that exercise with oxygen therapy. It's incredible. And so that's my first, because it's a little bit
smoking allowed though, right?
No smoking allowed. You wouldn't get to do it more than once, but you could probably do it once.
Trick I can only do one time.
Yeah, well, it's a one-time use smoking, but you do that. And that's actually not so bad because you can buy the setup for like $1,200 if you plus an oxygen concentrator, which is like $600. It just takes forever. But there's a guy where actually, if you just buy the mask, I watched this guy and it was pretty ingenious of him, because I tried to order one already and there was such a backlog on them that they said they couldn't fulfill my order and they canceled my order. But then this guy on YouTube shows a video where he went and got a waterproof mattress protector that zipped up all the way around the mattress, and he hung it up off his rafters, and he siliconed the zipper, and he used a PVC fitting, and all he had to buy was like the $110 mask. And he used a CPAP fitting to pump oxygen into the to the to the mattress protector, and he just bought this fitting that that fit this mask, and he bought this special mask that's for the EWAT system with the gate valve on it, and he did it for like, because he already had an oxygen concentrator, but so you could actually do it for like $400 if you wanted to.
Again, you got to be real careful with some of this DIY stuff because a spurious spark, and you can have the Hindenburg happen in your house.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you want to. So if it was me, I would ground it so that you couldn't have any static electrical sparks, and that would be pretty safe. But yeah, you don't want to. It's just like working with any of that stuff. If you work with any kind of gases like that, you just got to be super careful.
Well, all this being great, and I'm loving this conversation, but I've been on for 2 hours and 25 minutes. My VA doc sent me an email saying, hey, come in tomorrow. We'll do some more blood work to figure out some things going on. And see, it is 11:51. So I think I'm going to pull the plug on this, much as it hurts my heart, because we have such a great time here. I really got to say thank you, Chuck, for taking the risk and grabbing the link and coming on. Todd, you've been here before. I appreciate you coming and supporting, and especially all our friends in the chat. You guys you're the bees and knees. I'm sorry. You guys are just awesome. And I just absolutely adore being able to come into here and create this environment where we can go. We've got German going on. We've got church going on. We've got so many great things on. We've got medical lessons going on. Again, just to make sure we're clear, no one here is a doctor. None of this is medical advice. But you know what? One thing we have.
TV.
What's that?
I said I don't even play one on TV.
Yeah, there you go.
It might be anecdotal, but everything important, all advice or, research started at anecdotal,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think the one thing we have that no doctor can write a prescription for is caring, loving, compassionate people. And I think that will always carry the day. And we are so blessed. So Todd, I'm gonna give you a minute. What you got to say? Closing.
I got to say, just keep it going and keep doing the elimination things until you find what works for you. But this diet is not a diet. It's not a fad. It is the cure. That's why I called my channel The Carnivore Cure. This is not like all the ones that failed you before. Just keep at it and it'll work for you.
Chuck?
Yep, I would agree. No matter if you're doing carnivore, if you're doing keto, or somewhere in between, it's all ketogenic. This is all good. It's 100 times better than any way we were eating before. And just don't be afraid to give it a shot. I mean, at worst you're gonna feel better.
Yeah. What do you have to lose?
You're gonna feel better. Plus, cure a bunch of things you had wrong with the end, lose a ton of weight. So, I mean, there's no bad end to this, really.
All right. Well, you all take care. Guten Nacht, schlaf gut. Or for you going in today, you have a guten Tag. Everybody else, we'll see you back next week. So this Thursday night, I may come on, but it's not scheduled. But Monday through Thursdays, 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'll come out here, spend a couple hours, and we'll chat about what we want to.
I notice nobody really does weekends. It seems like on the weekends when I can stay up as late as I want to and not do anything, everyone's like, nobody's on and everything. So maybe I'd have to start jumping on and creating some lives for the weekend or something, because there's a lot of times where some people are on here chatting and stuff, and there's just nothing going on Friday.
Well, there are some Sunday shows. There are some Sunday shows now showing up. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So Todd has one with Lindy. So
yeah.
Nice. But the thing is, I think there's enough room for all of us. And I really appreciate you, Chuck. I'll be looking forward to next week hearing about your plan to move off the soda. And Todd, I'll really be looking forward to you saying that my last can was the day before yesterday.
For sure. I have, let's see, 1.5, 1 3/4 can. Yeah, that'll be mid next week. They'll be gone. So
That's right. All right. God bless you all. Take care.
Take it easy, everybody.
Bye bye.
have,